there is news that you don't want to hear about, but let's discuss. Jaylen McCollough arrested over the weekend yesterday, as a matter of fact, according to multiple reports, but by the News Sentinel, it happened at 2030 Grand Avenue. Upon arriving at the scene, the alleged victim of the attack, the aggravated felony assault alleged, um, he had a bloody, swollen mouth and was missing teeth when police arrived. So apparently, what happened is this man admittedly was drinking with his friends and went to the car to get something. I don't know what he went to get, but he comes back and he goes to the wrong apartment, knocks on the door. Nobody answers, probably thinks his buddies are playing a joke on him, opens the door, and there is reportedly Jaylen McCollough and a young lady. So at that point, he exits the building and exits the apartment and begins to walk away. According to the report, a man follows him and eventually punches him in the mouth, knocking him down some stairs. So the alleged victim said at one point that he, quote, didn't have to be a blank about it. There are a lot of questions. There's a lot of gray area. Well, let's talk about this from a football perspective before we get to what the H were you thinking. And that is Jaylen McCullough is one of Tennessee's better defensive backs amongst a group that's really not that good. So if they lose him, it would be the second player lost, with Warren Burrell, who was sidelined for the remainder of the season due to an undisclosed injury. So now you've had three players that have been arrested over the past month. You had Savion Herring from Monroe College in New Rochelle, New York, and linebacker William Mohan from Michigan. Neither of those dudes were going to play, I'm told, and they were booted immediately. And it's easy to say, rah, rah, rah. Josh Heupel, you did the exact right thing. You got them off the team. This one's a little bit more difficult. And I just want to get your take to start. Amanda, what do you think of this story? What's your immediate rapid reaction?
This is awful. I mean, this is such a bad look, and I don't think that they would have arrested him if there wasn't a a reason for them to think that he was the one that actually perpetrated said punch to the mouth.
Sure, yeah.
Still, it's just a punch to the mouth. Knocking out teeth is a lot, but I mean, it's just, if you are in this situation now, if you are Jaylen McCullough, if you are the one, you're getting paid now. You're not a kid anymore. This is not a, since the days of NIL, you're getting money. You act like you're getting money. This is just like having any other job. This is not, you're not representing the school anymore. You are, but you're not. You're no longer this like, oh, it's he's a kid, he's a student, he makes mistakes, yada yada yada. No, you're getting NIL money. You act like you're employed. That's what you do. It's the end of discussion.
Well, but you also are that's all true. You also are a representation of the university, and I've been really impressed by this sense of team that the Vols have had, and the fact that they do stick up for one another. Now, let's look at the incident specifically, because yes, he's going to face more criticism, and players will, as we move forward in things like this, because they are getting paid. It's different. You don't shelter them because they're amateur athletes. So, but let's look, and some of the people are offering some of their thoughts. John says, "Well, dude said some stuff to Jalen." Yes, true. Um, John said that came inside his apartment while drunk, though. Yes, true. So I'm with you. I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know the gray area. I will tell you that when I was 19 years old and 18 years old and living at a dorm, and they had the split bathroom, that I did something very similar. I went to a Doors cover band and watched them and overly indulged, broke the law in and of itself. In that, I was 18, and I beat on a door because I got confused, and it was not my dorm room. The guys opened the door. They were a cool couple of stoner dudes, and they were like, "Hey man, wrong room," and I'm like, "Oh my bad." So that was it. Now, but had I barged into the room, and let's say something was going on romantically, I don't know. But had I barged into the room, I could see how they would be upset. You don't punch somebody. I could also see that you follow somebody, and this guy, he admitted to saying you don't have to be a bleep about it. He very well could have said a little bit more. It seems like
What's the bleep?
don't be a jerk about it. And don't accept not.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
he admitted to saying that. So did he say more? Did he say, "Hey Jackwagon, don't be a bleep about it"? Was there a real altercation? I don't know. The police didn't seem to think so. I want to give Jalen McCullough credit for just coming back, showing up to the scene. He did leave the scene. He could have punched him and not known how serious it was. Yada yada yada. But he did come back to the scene. He fessed up. He was arrested. So there is a lot of gray area here. And the reason I discuss the gray area is really because of football. I'm not discussing the gray area over the morality of it. It was a stupid encounter by everybody involved. We can all agree with that. The dude that went in the room, the Jaylen McCollough coming out, confronting him again. There was probably yipping and yapping back, and then the punch. So I'm looking at this purely from a football perspective, and it will be interesting to see because of the gray area how Josh Heupel handles this. It was very easy to kick the dudes off that I just mentioned earlier. They weren't any good. There's a player I mentioned one time who referenced a high school young lady, and she had the private school mini skirt plaid thing, and he made a reference to her, and he was thrown off the team. Well, he wasn't any good, so it was an easy way to free up a scholarship. This guy's good. This guy's important. So I'm interested to see how Josh Heupel handles this. Um, will he be suspended for the Alabama game? That just when you look at felony aggravated assault, you automatically would think, yes, you're suspended for the next game. I mean, that just on surface, okay? But Amanda, here's how these things go. So if this has not happened already, and since it was last night, I'm going to assume it hasn't. But here's how these things go. Josh Heupel calls Jaylen McCollough. Jaylen McCollough goes into Josh Heupel's office. Jaylen McCollough sits down. Josh Heupel says, "Tell me what happened." You may not even have to say these words because I think they do respect Josh Heupel, but you may say, or it is at least implied, do not lie to me about this, because if you lie about what happened, even if you were in the wrong, you're in a lot more trouble. So if he comes clean and he says, "I punched him in the mouth," or Coach Heupel is how we would refer to him. "I punched him in the mouth. He barged in. This is why I punched him in the mouth. He got a little yippy. He got in my face." All of that. Now, the police didn't think that was the case. But if you tell Josh Heupel that, and he has communication, which you're technically not supposed to do with the police, because that could be interfering with the investigation, but it does happen. And he gets some sort of communication by the police that everything was kosher in the way that Jaylen McCollough handled it from that point forward, then yes, he could play on Saturday.
Did
Absolutely. Just
Okay.
don't lie is what I would tell Jaylen McCollough if he's watching the show or listening right now. Do not lie. Come clean, even if it means you have to sit for Alabama and get suspended for a week or two. Don't lie. Don't lie.
Right. Well, my thing about this is, and I've dug a little bit deeper into it because I mean I woke up and just saw it on Twitter and I was like, well,
So on
okay.
authenticsports.com.
Well, yes, I did, but that was from your tweet. So I didn't realize that he was actually, I thought it sounded like the guy left the apartment and went walking down like into the street and Jaylen McCullough apparently just took off after him. That's not what happened. He
No.
got hit at the door. He hit him at the door. And the reason the guy has like teeth missing and stuff, he fell down the stairs.
Well, now, according to the reports, let's be really clear here. With the News Sentinel, he went in the room, realized he was in the wrong room, turned around, and then Jaylen McCollough allegedly followed him, and at that point is when the altercation happened.
Yeah, he said he was approximately 30 feet from the door.
Okay, so you're
30
you're
feet.
you're saying if you're that dude, my bad, and walking away. Now, did he say? My bad. Don't be a jackwagon. What's wrong with you, jerky boy? Did he, I'm using nice language. Did that happen and caused him to get punched in the mouth? I got no problem with that
Well,
if it gets in your face. I
that's
mean,
what he said. It says the warrant narrative states that the two exchanged words. So if the two exchanged words, this is my thing. You come into a guy's house and you go in, and this is what the guy is saying. This is what the victim is saying, that he went in, he backed out and apologized. You don't know if he did that. You don't know if he did that. It's not like Jaylen McCullough pulled a gun on him or something. I mean, they started exchanging words and he punched him. It's a punch. How many people have thrown a punch?
I guess everybody, right?
I mean, we've all thrown a punch. If we were all arrested on felony assault charges for throwing a punch, the majority of us would serve time. I
Uh,
mean,
yeah. I mean, it
that's
is
it's a
assault.
it's
Yeah.
assault, but in today's like in this is what's wrong with today's society. Here I'm gonna go.
Oh my
It's an
God.
assault.
So scared.
Yes, it's an assault charge. But when back in the day when you were younger, I mean, people got in fights and no one went to prison over it. You got into a fight. That's just what happens. You don't have to call the cops every time you get into a fight.
Yeah. But I mean, we had my son's girlfriend over on Friday, and he picked Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which was cool. And I told him how dozens, well, a dozen, maybe 18, maybe 2 dozen, uh, students would show up to campus in their pickup truck, and there was a gun rack with guns on the back. That seems today absolutely insano,
Well,
but
yeah, you get arrested.
but back then it wasn't anything.
I
Um,
know.
so I, I I don't know exactly what happened. If there was a lot of yipping and the guy got in his face, then you have every right to punch somebody. You have every right to defend yourself. The threat of if I go up to Amanda and I say, Amanda, I'm gonna knock the bleep out of you. I'm gonna beat you up. She has every right to hit me. Okay, so a verbal attack. Trust me, I've covered way too many of these things, but a verbal threat gives you the right to defend yourself. Crazy Nug said the charges will be dropped. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I also wouldn't be surprised if he's suspended for the Alabama game. It's just something that Tennessee didn't need, and I think it will be a bump in the road, something they'll overcome. And I think it's unfortunate because it overshadows Tennessee's win 40-13 over LSU. So